Thank you so much. Very happy to be here. As you can tell from my accent, and I'm in the United States, so the sun will be rising behind me. So good morning, good evening, and afternoon for those who are across the world. So just to first start off by introducing myself, my name is Karina Hatfield. I manage the Strategic Portfolio Management Inbound Product Management team here at ServiceNow, and I am very excited to share our roadmap with you. So before I jump in, and yes, there will be forward-looking statements, which is why we have the safe harbor, because this is all about vision and roadmap. I wanted to take a moment to talk about the market trends that we're seeing. There's three key market trends that we are talking to customers about every single day. The first one is alignment to business strategy. As we know, everybody is working remotely still after 2 years. So remote work is becoming the norm. Many of us work for global companies. So we've adapted to this new normal, which only means it's more important that the work that we do every day is aligned to strategy. I like to say sometimes fire drills kill strategy. That day-to-day work disrupts us and keeps us from being able to focus on the things that need to get done in order to evolve our business and stay competitive. So being able to align to business strategy is more important than ever in today's environment. The second thing that we see is enabling business agility. So managing work in progress, limiting how much is in your portfolio, being able to structure your teams from a product-centric perspective, and then enabling your organization to shift and pivot as you learn new things. Right? We tried for years to get waterfall to drive predictability, and what we've learned is everything is unpredictable. And the best way to get to predictability is to work within a product model and think about how do we learn fast and enable to adapt to our constantly changing environment. That's the best way to get to predictability and business agility. The third thing is what we're seeing you, our customers, demanding from us, which is very exciting. Keep demanding it. We are looking forward to rising to the occasion. Is you want smarter applications. You want powerful insights within a modern experience. ServiceNow is committed to giving you a modern experience. As you know, with the most recent releases with San Diego, we've released those now new experiences from an SPM perspective. We're absolutely delivering those new experiences, but we're also thinking about how do we make it smarter? How do we give you insights into how execution is going to impact your plan so that you can create that business agility? So keep demanding a smarter application and we'll keep building it. And how we're going to do that is leveraging one of our new experiences that we're so focused on investing in. We've been investing heavily within Alignment Planner Workspace. And this is where strategy and execution really start to come together, right? We want to enable you to be able to create that 1 to 3 year plan. We know that annual planning is still a key decision maker within your organization, and being able to have that vision, that roadmap of where you're going is incredibly valuable and important. But so is tying it back to the goals and the outcomes that you want to achieve. Effectively prioritizing and planning and replanning when things change, and being able to connect to the delivery and what's happening in execution. We also are building out decision support capabilities, and we want to be able to drive better planning with data-driven insights from what's happening in the execution, and within your creating your plan, the impacts of maybe some of the decisions that you're making before it rolls down to execution. So that's our vision from a Alignment Planner Workspace. And as we're going through and building out that experience and that workspace, we've also, in conversations with you, discovered there's different people in your organization planning in different ways. And they want to all plan from their own lens. And not only that, but some of you are going through transformations. That market trend that I talked about with making that shift to product, that takes time. That doesn't happen overnight. So we're seeing organizations that want to still plan in a traditional model, but then be able to flip it and understand how does that impact from a product-centric perspective. They want to be able to transform and bring their portfolio along with them. So we are building out-of-the-box capabilities from a lens perspective so that we can help drive you to be able to leverage these experiences and then connect them to the rest of ServiceNow. So we're partnering with other areas of ServiceNow, like the CMDB, to ensure that that your plan will then roll down from an execution and a single platform perspective. So let's walk through an example. I've got 5 lenses. They only gave me 30 minutes. So I'm only going to pick one, and I'm going to pick the most common one that we're talking to customers about, which is that transformation into making the product shift. So if I can create a personal portfolio on that primary product lens, I can start to now think about funding products and planning. What new products am I going to build? What products am I going to enhance? I can start scheduling and having a roadmap and a vision from a product-centric perspective, and have measurements that are related to specific to products, such as deployment frequency, lead time for changes. But just because I want to plan and prioritize and fund from a product-centric perspective doesn't mean that I don't need to see that from those other lenses. So if I'm creating a product roadmap, I need to understand how it aligns to my goals or popular framework, OKRs, objectives and key results that's taking off. We want to be able to understand how do those align, and then what's the performance of those goals happening as we go through execution from a planning perspective. Not only are we focused on the outcomes, but also strategies. So being able to think about from a product perspective, you most likely have strategic things that you want to do and not strategic things that you want to do. And being able to ensure that your strategic part of the organization is connected to the product organization, we can now use these different lenses to provide insights to your product planners of what they need to consider and ensure that they're prioritizing those strategic work streams. Because as we know, most strategy takes multiple areas of the organization to actually deliver, but they all have conflicting priorities. So we want to be able to leverage these lenses to help manage conflicting priorities. So think about that organizational lens. If you haven't moved to fixed teams and you haven't made that product shift, then that means you probably have multiple areas of the organization helping to deliver, support, and enhance products. You'll get there, we know you will, or you might stay as a matrixed organization, but that's okay, because we want to be able to support you with where you want to go and meet you with where you are today, and then provide those insights that you can have information about dependencies that might exist across the organization outside of your product that's going to impact your product view. And last but not least, we are also creating a value stream lens. So we want you to understand how your products are contributing to that contributing the value to your organization, to your customers, as well as things like building portfolios across multiple arts, which I've heard many times, understanding those dependencies and those complexities across the value stream. So the larger the organization, the easier it is to be able to manage from a planning perspective across that organization, from both a value stream perspective and a product perspective. So what does this look like? I'm going to walk through some mock-ups to try to bring it to life. So the first thing is, imagine you come into Alignment Planner Workspace and you have a dashboard, a landing page that gives you alerts and insights into not just your lens, your personal portfolio, but also what's happening from others. So understand if I have a product personal portfolio, I can share it with others, collaborate with others, but more importantly, know that if there are things that I need to get done that are conflicting in another portfolio from a prioritization perspective, I want to know that my work stream is now ranked 100 in some other portfolio. So we can start thinking about offering these insights into your portfolio, as well as goals. Have you prioritized within your own portfolio effectively to ensure that you're going to achieve the outcomes and those goals and those targets that you want to achieve? We're also going to be adding in-app guidance and ultimately get to the point that we can make recommendations. And I'll talk about that a lot because you can really see it come to life from a capacity planning perspective. So don't worry, even though I've talked about lenses, we're still thinking about funding and capacity planning. So, but before we get there, we have to start with those goals, those outcomes we want to achieve from our portfolio perspective. So enabling the ability to optimize the decisions that we're making against those goals and those targets. We released our first version in May and we're continuing to invest in it. And we're also doing things like how can we enable the automation of getting those targets updated, whether it's from the internally on the platform or from external sources. So we're able to think about how do we manage those goals, OKRs, KPIs, whatever framework your organization needs to do so that you can focus on ensuring that you're going to deliver the results that you want to deliver for your portfolio. In addition, in May, we released our first version of the backlog. So that prioritization list, we have a single planning state where you can move everything, whether it's demands, projects, epics. So really bringing that hybrid portfolio together to make better decisions, sort everything that you have to do. We all know we have way more demand than capacity. So it starts with prioritization. There's a tremendous amount of value to just be able to rank and see what's the order of everything that you have to do within your portfolio to achieve those results that you want to achieve. And then you want to be able to prioritize them, and they get plotted on the roadmap and that vision that we released in prior releases within Alignment Planner Workspace. We are also working on capacity planning. So we want to think about that as you make decisions within your portfolio. What does it mean against your capacity constraints? And we want to add flexibility within SPM so that whether you're planning from a team perspective, a role perspective, contractor type perspective, maybe it's contractors versus full-time employees, because you want to understand if you increase capacity from a contractor perspective, can you take on more work? And as we think about capacity planning and those constraints, we can really start to add insights and recommendations. You have that new high priority item come in. How is it going to fit into your portfolio? Well, instead of having to dig through all that data, we want to be able to leverage the now intelligence and the platform to be able to give you advice on what should shift out. Do you have things that are lower priorities that don't have as many dependencies on them that could shift out with minimum impact so that you can take on that new thing? And then we can learn from you as you accept those recommendations or dismiss them. So we can get better at making those recommendations from an Alignment Planner Workspace perspective. Additionally, we can do this from a funding perspective. So being able to roll up against your guardrails, your portfolio level budgets, and we're ensuring that we're going to have actuals and forecast numbers to be able to roll up so you can reallocate those funds across your portfolio view, as well as considering how that impacts those other lenses. And most importantly, as you fund, we're still connected to that goal and that OKR perspective so that you can understand what you're going to achieve. And we're also adding scenario planning. I know some of you have been thinking about it. Well, what if I'm not sure what I want to do, or I'm not sure I want to take your recommendation, but I'd like to accept the recommendation within the context of a scenario, and I want confidence that it's the right decision. We're adding scenario planning within Alignment Planner Workspace next year. In March, it's also important to know that Alignment Planner Workspace is connected to execution. So if you are using our safe boards, you can connect it to Alignment Planner Workspace so you can make those roadmaps, make those decisions from a top-down perspective, and then have those epics appear on your board so that you can plan your PI planning and go through that process from long-range planning to shorter incremental planning. For those who aren't there yet, you can also connect your safe boards up so that you can create those roadmaps and see what's happening in execution across multiple arts, across multiple portfolios within Alignment Planner Workspace. That is available today already. So even though I have an amazing roadmap, there's some great capabilities that you can start using today. We've also done that with our project workspace. So you're able to connect Alignment Planner Workspace to our old project workspace as well as the new project workspace. We have the same architecture in the background. And most importantly, as I mentioned before, you can connect to both your safe boards and your agile boards and your project boards and demand. So you can bring together all of those things in and create roadmaps across all of your hybrid work within SPM. So Project Workspace, I mentioned it, we've connected it to Alignment Planner Workspace. We are continuing to invest in Project Workspace. We have a lot to do. We want to get RIDAC updated into a new modern experience. We want to add dashboards. We want to get those resources and improve the ability to make it easier to create resource plans and resource requests. We also want to extend and make it more flexible so it's not solely tied to resource groups. So we're going to create some out-of-the-box capabilities around being able to request roles, request teams, again, contractors versus full-time equivalents, as well as getting financials into the new workspace. I think I saw a question about RIDAC and decoupling it from Project Workspace, if I read that correctly. So we are going to take the framework of RIDAC and decouple it from PPM so that we can start creating user experiences on the safe boards. We all have risks. It doesn't matter if we have them on a portfolio level, an agile level, a safe board, an individual project. We want to be able to enable you to manage those risks across all the things within SPM, because risk management is so important. So I think I did see that question. Hard to keep up with questions while you're talking. So the next, which I think this is one of those things everyone's so excited about. So in the very next release, we are releasing our first version of PowerPoint export. We're starting with the project status report out of the box. We will also have one for application portfolio management. We're also working on one for Alignment Planner Workspace, but that doesn't mean you can't use it with the rest of SPM data. So just because you're not using the new workspaces doesn't mean you can't leverage this export to PowerPoint capability. We have we are connected to out-of-the-box Microsoft libraries so that you are able to take our template. If you need inspiration to start with, you can download it. There's an add-in that you can modify and create your own template. Maybe you love our template, but you don't love the green for ServiceNow, or you love our ServiceNow green, but your corporate colors are red. You can modify those colors, reload back into your instance so that you can store multiple templates for PowerPoints, and then your users can export them. It will take the SPM data, populate those templates, and generate your PowerPoint. So very excited about that. We're going to reduce the time it takes to create PowerPoints. So the first release will have those templates and have those objects, including things like charts and graphics that are core to Microsoft. We are having to create our own libraries for the timeline. So we're going to continue to invest in export to PowerPoint. The first version will not have a roadmap export, or a timeline export, I should say, but we're going to continue to invest in it. And we are actively building those libraries today. So don't be too disappointed if there's no beautiful roadmap and you're using Alignment Planner Workspace, because our development team is actively working on it, and it will be coming out in a subsequent release. But until then, you can certainly take advantage of reducing the time it takes to create PowerPoints. We are also looking at the core capabilities within the platform, and one of them is benchmarking. We've heard from many, many customers that you want to measure yourself against your peers. We all do. It's such a great way to know, are we getting better? Are we getting worse at something? We actually did a survey of several customers, and by far, the number one thing that you guys wanted to know is, how much do I spend on run and grow versus companies of similar size, or maybe a company in the same industry? So we are adding some SPM capabilities for benchmarking. All the data is anonymized, so you turn it on, nobody will be able to know who they're comparing to, and all of the data gets lumped into either size of company or predefined industries that are in the application. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of customers already leveraging the benchmarking capabilities within ServiceNow. So we've anonymized a lot of data, and we want to be able to take advantage of that and then get feedback from you all of what are some things that we could continue to benchmark and help you measure yourselves. I know I get asked every time I get on a customer call, what are other customers doing? How many teams do they have in an ARC? Wouldn't it be great if you could self-service and not have to ask somebody within ServiceNow some of those types of questions? So I did want to take a moment and talk about application portfolio management. We have a lot of strategic priorities and a lot of work happening within APM. So we're focused on our enterprise architects. We are creating a new modern experience for the EA. So thinking of heat maps, diagrams, visualizations, so that they can start to think about their future state and be able to leverage all of that data that we have on the platform. We are integrating with leading tools such as Lucidchart and Visio for future state modeling, as well as leveraging CSDM to support that modeling tool. And as you know, enterprise architects really want to model those future states to feed all of those prioritization decisions within strategic portfolio management. So we want to enable them to really be able to effectively understand what does our organizations need to do to go from current state to future state, and have the tools to be able to do it. We are also enhancing some core capabilities based on customer feedback. So things like API and integration management, customer journeys and process mapping, as well as building out use cases that support technology standards, addressing technology debt for our enterprise architects. So in second half of 2022, we are doing some things around the technology reference model and improving the use of lifecycle management to group in those investment decisions. We want to help guide technology teams so that it's easier than ever to use approved technology standards and have that information at your fingertips within APM. I had one more thing that I wanted to share that applies to the entire platform. So this isn't necessarily specific to strategic portfolio management, but I know it's really important for a lot of our customers. So we have been having a lot of conversations with different customers about data separation and using ACLs in which to do that. The platform is coming out with standard capabilities in August, so in the Tokyo release, to be able to control user data access, where you can filter on any table, create your own conditions, and then associate them to your own groups of users. So this is a platform level capability that can be leveraged to support that separation of data across SPM and APM in a very intuitive, user-friendly way from a ServiceNow administrator perspective that will be more comprehensive for end users. So we are very excited. We've been testing this capability against customer use cases, and at this time, it's supporting all of them 100%. So very excited to partner with the platform team and come up with a solution that supports the entire platform and not just parts of strategic portfolio management. And luckily, since we've been talking with customers already about this, we have those list of use cases that we've been able to test and go through. So wanted to share that exciting platform capability with you. So that is the roadmap session. And I am not sure if I'm supposed to take a few moments for Q&A or if I'm supposed to hand it off to the next speaker.
Karina, we're going to take a couple of questions.
Okay.
One is, I'll go to a comment first. Someone said this is mind-boggling. I cannot wait to experience this. This is going to be game changer. So kudos to you. Looks like you're heading in the right direction. There was a question about, you handled the one about RIDAC. Someone asked what RIDAC stands for. Maybe you can answer that, and I'll tee up the next question for you.
Yep. So it's risks, issues, decisions, actions, and changes is the definition of RIDAC. So what we want to do is currently it's embedded within our PPM solution. We realize that like SAFE not everyone follows that entire flow from a PMI perspective. So the thought is because it's a risk, right? You identify the risk, you put an owner on the risk. We want to be able to take that same framework and leverage it for different methodologies used for managing risks. So for SAFE, it's Rome. For PMI, it's RIDAC. Some customers only use a portion of it, right? They might just use changes, risks, and issues, or some version of it. So we're wanting to make it a little bit more flexible and easier to use dependent on your solution. Or you may just want to be able to manage risks and decisions, for example, and have that flow through. So I could imagine that very useful at, say, a portfolio level.
And we have time for one more quick question, and the others, if we have time, we'll get to at the end. This was about viewing this from a SAFE construct as well. And people were just looking for confirmation that when you talk about your lenses, that included SAFE functionality.
Yes, absolutely, it does. And so some of the things that we're thinking about from a lens perspective is if I'm a SAFE organization, I'm going to want to create those personal portfolios for those different lenses, and I'm going to want to do things like create a portfolio level canvas or a vision statement. So once we have that context of a flexible portfolio that brings in all of the things that you're doing, because there's times you may want to plan at an art level, there's times you may want to plan at a product level, and then we want to be able to attach different capabilities from a SAFE perspective and be able to support that. So this is laying that groundwork to do that.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Karina.
Thanks you so much. And I hope everybody has a great day and enjoys the SPM Summit. Looking forward to some of the customer presentations. I think Aldi is next.